Te Tino Whakamuri kia Anga Whakamua, a series dedicated to sharing stories from Te Tai Tokerau whānau about their own tupuna and kōrero tuku iho of Te Tai Tokerau.
My time in the 1960s, growing up in the 1950s and 1960s as a child. And then it was really common, well of course the polio pandemic went through. I remember seeing pictures, we didn't have TV, but seeing pictures in the newspaper of rows of iron lungs in Auckland Hospital with people's heads sticking out one end, and I think their feet were sticking out the other. None of my whānau died of polio, but I have a cousin who's 5 years younger than me who was left with a shortened leg as a result of polio. I did lose whānau, a cousin to scarlet fever. We went to Rotakaki Māori school, and I remember he wasn't well, and he hadn't been well for some time, but you know, the rongoa and the what do you call them, the folk medicines that we had access to. Bear in mind that the nearest hospital was Rawene, and that was at least an hour or 2 hours away, depending on which ferry you caught. So we used things like both Pākehā and Māori rongoa. They were using things like kumara to help him cough up, but he was still coming to school, and one day he coughed up blood right on our desk, and he died. He died of scarlet fever in hospital. He did manage to get to hospital. Now, when I think about all of those things, I think there's a vaccination now for scarlet fever. Certainly it doesn't seem to be common. Polio, I'll never forget when they brought out the vaccination for polio, because it tasted really nice. It was a liquid, and we were happy to line up and go around again and get another one, you know. At that time I never thought about what it would have been like for our tupuna. Now, I think that marae committee and kaumata kaumātua and whānau need to be thinking now and planning what will be our tikanga. Well, it's still the same tikanga. How are we going to achieve that same result to bring our whānau pani through so that they're not feeling so devastated, and you have prolonged grieving that can turn into clinical depression. In times like this, it's a real danger. So I do believe that the best way forward is to use the technology. Zoom, none of us had even heard of it before 2020, and I'm so grateful because business as usual has been able to carry on in an unusual way, but we have been able to maintain most of our functions. Most marae AGMs this year were done on Zoom. When it comes to mate though, I think they do need to set careful tikanga. Like, it's not good for images of the tūpapaku to be put into the ether where you cannot control. So I think you'd have to have those kind of tikanga, because that could actually contradict the outcome you're looking for. It could prolong the grieving again. You would need to ask people's permission if they're in a shot, you know, say, look, if you don't want to be in this live stream or this private message stream, we'll wait until you're all clear. Maybe we're going to have to learn some production values, you know, have somebody who knows how to do tight shots and just keep it on the speaker, or the person who's doing the coho at any given time might have to have permission slips. I don't know, but each of us needs to consider those things, because our people are more and more onto what's their rights as well as what's their responsibilities. But we can do it. We can do it. I remember many years ago my brother Beau paddled for the first time from Whangapē Harbour down to Hokianga Harbour, and he asked his wife to meet him at the pub. So when he came into the pub, apparently he was criticised for coming off. It was a wakaama, and they said, you know, surely you shouldn't be in the pub when you've just done that kind of. It was like a bit of a tapu journey to have reprised that. And there were people who were fishing at Miti Miti who said they thought they were seeing a ghost when they saw him way out on the horizon. But his answer was, do you not think if this pub was here when Nuku Tawhiti And when we came in, that they wouldn't have rocked up here. So, a bit facetious, but I know that our tupuna, oh gosh, yes, they were adaptive, and so are we.
Te tino whakamuri kia anga whakamua, learning from the events of the past for the oranga o Te Tai Tokerau.